that there have been more goblin fights in D&D run since 1968 or whatever than there are atoms in the universe. Everybody's bored. So let's add some party poppers that are essentially just goblins.
Welcome to Monsters in Multiclass, your Dungeons & Dragons fix. I'm Kevin Odie.
I'm Jared Bornigal.
And I'm Will Milden.
And we'll be hanging out with you for a while to talk about anything and everything D&D related. This week we're taking a look at the Monk Paladin Multiclass, and then later on the Barghest from Bolo's Guide to Monsters. So pull up a chair and hang out for a while.
All right, so this week we're taking a look at the Monk Paladin multiclass. A monk is a martial character who relies on their key ability to make a bunch of small attacks and make them really count. Whereas a paladin is more of the Nova damage in D&D. They have their smite ability, that's their main class feature. A monk is going to require 13 in dex and 13 in wisdom, whereas a paladin is going to require 13 in strength and 13 in charisma in order to multiclass in. So we have 4 requirements for this one. I'm sure that Will is extremely excited, but I'm going to hold you back for just a second and let Kevin take the first thoughts here.
Definitely those 4 ability requirements absolutely killed us. It's looking at it, there's a lot of things where it sounds like, oh, it could be good. I feel like paladin dipping into monk, or other way around. Monk dipping into paladin. Oh, I can see some cool things there, but then you look, you need 13 in all 4 of those stats. The chances of you happening to have that, or the sacrifices you need to make to get them, just doesn't seem worth it.
Right, because then, like, what are the skills even left? Intelligence? Okay, fine, that can be a dump stat.
Right.
Constitution? Do you really want that to be a dump stat?
Nope.
No.
It's going to kind of have to be.
Yeah. Will?
And, charisma. But
no,
paladin. Never mind.
Yeah, you need at least 13.
You asked, we had a question on Reddit, what is the worst multiclass? And we all kind of agreed wizard sorcerer, but I had this sneaking suspicion that one of these quad requirement classes was going to, if not dethrone it, but challenge it. It's like, wow, it's just not going to happen for me. Even thematically, I just don't like it. I feel like it's 2 totally separate paths of devotion that don't necessarily mesh well at all.
So that's the first point that I'll definitely counter that a bit. I think thematically it makes a ton of sense. It's the same idea of having an oath of devotion of some sort to something. It doesn't have to be entirely separate. The fact that they can be the same almost makes it easier.
No.
Oh, okay.
Well, if you say so.
I mean, that's just wrong, though. So. I know it's your opinion, but we're just... Well, I think my point is it's... one of these is one of those situations where, like, you've got this like karate night thing going on that is like people when they're like, this sounds really condescending, but it feels like middle school story time.
Oh.
It's like, I just want A, I want to wear heavy armor, and B, I also want to be good at karate, and I want to be like 7 feet tall and also the king, but also like a dragon. It's just like,
And God's chosen one.
and God's chosen one, and like I'm gonna have 16 girlfriends, and it's just it's like I don't know, it's like a Japanese light novel. It's like this guy is writing this dream life he wants, not a good character. And I don't know, I don't think you could bring this to the table and not make it kind of cringy and forced.
Unless you made it an isekai warrior.
And, yeah. But that guy never has a good party. It's like, oh, look at these incredibly busty women that follow me around and do nothing. It's not cohesive.
What'd you call it?
Isekai.
What's that?
It's a genre of anime where it's basically that. It's transporting somebody from our world into a fantasy world of sorts. D&D's the usual trope for it, or like that type of fantasy world. Mm-hmm. And that's basically it.
The worst part about it is every single one of them starts with, I was like the most average 16-year-old high school kid. I didn't have a girlfriend and I had barely any friends. And then literally within 3 pages of the manga, they're like transported to a new world and they have the most powerful ability, like given to them by God. And then they are like the god of this world. And then it's like 67 chapters later and they've never faced a challenge. And you're like, why are there 95 of these mangas going on right now? This is awful.
It's wish fulfillment. So I say Konosuba. Sounds like kind of a satire of that.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, Konosuba was the dunking on that idea.
Yeah. So, yeah, no, I kind of agree. Like, this sounds like a bit of a good I don't even know if good idea is the right word. It sounds like I can see how somebody gets to this idea and they're like, oh, it'd be really cool, holy warrior, also really good at karate. I like the idea, but then putting the stats onto paper, it just is going to keep falling flat. I mean, mechanically speaking, there's just not a ton there because monks are the hardest things to multi-class with because the second that you put on any armor or even pick up a shield, you lose everything that makes you a monk. And paladins, you expect them to be a warrior with armor and with maybe not a shield, that doesn't matter as much, but a weapon at the very least. You got to choose one or the other with this. It's difficult.
Yeah, so Paladin dipping into monk, I think, is absolutely worthless because all of the early level monk abilities, like martial arts and their armor and all that's all based around them not wearing armor, not using shields, not using most weapons. It's a waste. You're basically stripping away a lot that makes them a paladin. The other way around, if we could ignore the 4 attribute requirements for a minute, is actually pretty decent. If you are mainly a melee monk, and which are most of them, and you dip 3 levels into paladin, you get divine sense, you get 15 points of land hands damage, you get a fighting style, which it's gonna have to be dueling really.
Yep, gonna be
but
dueling.
It's fine. So +2 to all your attacks, damage, great.
We talked about that a lot with the ranger monk. I mean, it does a lot of damage, even just with when you're making so many attacks. But we had something wrong. I don't remember what it was. Was that the +2 only with the weapon attack? Is that
yeah.
it? Yeah. So
one-handed weapon attack.
Okay, all right. So you can get the
So
+2.
with the unarmed, I don't think it applies to the unarmed.
Right.
No. That would be overpowered as hell, actually.
Yeah, especially with a monk.
Flurry of blows.
When you're wielding a melee weapon in one hand and no other weapons, you gain a +2 bonus damage rolls with that weapon. So it does not apply to unarmed.
Yes.
But that's fine. Well, so spell casting. So you get access to first level paladin spells. You get your divine smites, which you can do off of unarmed attacks.
Yep.
And then if third level, depending on divine health, so you get immune to diseases, which I think monks get anyways, actually.
I think, later on.
Either way. And then your first sacred oath. So if you go vengeance, then you get your vow of enmity, and once per short rest, you could give yourself advantage for a minute. A monk with their 4 or 5 attacks in a turn, getting an advantage on all of them for a minute's really awesome. And then also vengeance, you then get hunter's mark, so then add a d6 onto all of those. That's kind of nice. I like that. And then you add in the heavy flavor of you're a monk, and then you took some sort of oath and had that really strong big character moment that gave you these initial paladin powers.
Yeah.
But then you remember you need 13 in strength, 13 in dexterity, 13 in wisdom, and 13 in charisma.
Yeah, you're going to need that dueling just to make up for the damage you're not doing.
Right.
Which is, a bit of a bummer. I mean, with that, I say you'd need to have dex pretty high. You'd need your wisdom pretty high for your armor class if you want that to be anything worthwhile.
Right.
And then charisma and strength would be basically just
13.
At 13 and don't get them any higher. If you're not going
14 if you can manage it just to get the +2 instead of +1.
Exactly. But you're not going to get your paladin aura, which comes in at level 6, I believe.
Right.
So there's no use to get charisma higher. I wouldn't cast a single spell that requires a spell save. That's for sure.
I would say the slots for smites.
Smites and hunter's mark.
Yep.
Which will take and that's if
First
you're going
levels,
that oath of vengeance, right?
Yeah.
We are talking about, 3 level 1 smites?
Yes.
Yeah.
I mean, it's not like I wouldn't say no to it, but chasing after that at all, it's...
that's what I have on my current character, and I feel like I smite a lot.
Yeah,
it comes up.
But you are level 7.
Yeah.
If you were a level 13 monk, you wouldn't be like, I definitely need that thing I had 6 levels ago.
All right, so then Hunter's Mark. Use
Hunter's
it for
Mark, I could
go to Vengeance, use it for Hunter's Mark.
That actually is, if you're holding concentration on that for a good amount of time, it will do more damage. A smite is 2d8. A hunter's mark is 1d6 on every hit. That's actually really good.
For a monk, We're doing flurry blows and crap like that, and bonus armed on attacks. So at level 5, for free, they could get 3 attacks in a round.
Right.
2, because they get extra attacks, so 2 of the weapon attack, then a bonus unarmed.
Right.
They want to spend a key point, they get 4 attacks.
That's going to be much better.
The extra 3d6 or 46 per hit, or per turn if everything hits.
We're also looking at a situation where you are up in something's grill with a concentration spell up. 4 attribute requirements. One of them is definitely not con.
Just get Warcaster.
I don't even know.
Variant, I think you could definitely make it work with Variant Human. Take Warcaster.
Yeah.
And then...
I think this is one that, you are going to be very poorly scaled compared to the rest of your party until you get to like level 10, 12 even. And then you'll, once you can really pull that type of thing off where you're casting Hunter's Mark before you get into the fray, you're keeping it up because you've got, I don't know, either a high enough constitution or Warcaster. Most likely Warcaster. Yes, it's going to be like pretty good, but it's going to take you a while to get there.
All right. So here's the issue. It's like, just go one level in Warlock.
Do they get Hunter's Mark?
They get Hex, which is the same damn thing.
Yeah.
Is it? I didn't know that.
Yeah.
And then you only need Charisma.
And you're a Warlock, which is badass and easier to justify.
I don't agree with that. I still think Paladin and Monk, those go together much better than Monk and a Warlock.
Nah, it is kind of edgy. But anybody can be a Warlock. Everybody's a Warlock at heart.
We're all Warlocks on the inside. It's just, we're one small bond away.
That's how I view the world.
So, okay, again, I'm still going to stick with and continue to argue if you bring it up again that Paladin and Monk do go well together flavor-wise. I mean, again, it's this idea of having a devotion to something, taking an oath. I mean, if that doesn't scream Monk to you, then what does Monk scream to you?
Monk screams like discipline.
Yeah, and swearing an oath and sticking to it that's discipline.
But in my eyes, like that's kind of one of those like, you've got two different ways to be very, very something. And if you go both, it dilutes them, in my personal opinion. Whereas Monk is just like, Monk Warlock is just kind of like, oh, it's cool because I got a free thing from the devil. And I can always justify that in my head.
Yeah, I mean, I guess you're saying that there's two different paths that dilutes them. Okay, that makes sense to me, but I don't see what the two different paths are. That's what's not clicking.
So one of them is like, I'm going to devote myself to my body and that kind of idea. It's the Karate Master shit.
Okay.
And the other one's, I'm going to devote myself to this ideal and enforcing that ideal.
Okay.
So a monk, I feel like, would be less inclined to feel the way a paladin does. Because the paladin, like, the feeling of a paladin is what makes the paladin.
Okay.
Whereas a monk would identify that as maybe not the best way to go about it.
Okay, so what you're saying is monks more go towards this idea of self-purity and, again, focusing on their body, which is true. I think that's a good summary of it. Whereas paladins, it's more to an ideal, so their body just kind of comes along with that.
Well, they do what they can to get the body to some level, but the empty-mindedness of a monk, I feel like, is lost. And that is kind of like going through the trope of monks have to be Buddhist monks, and we obviously are not.
No.
In Nepal, we are in, whatever D&D realm you have. So
Right. I still think a cheese monk is right around the corner. Yeah, we were talking about when cheeses were started, and cheese was basically perfected by monks, or really taken under. So I think in my world, if anybody wants to play a monk, they can play a cheese monk. I don't know what it's going to look like. It's probably just going to be any of the already established subclasses. But you can have proficiency. You can have proficiency in making cheeses. Yeah, you're not a martial monk. You're just an NPC.
You're just kind of a portly guy. Oh, I just had a lot of time, no girlfriend. We're just sitting around curdling milk. Anyone like a cheese?
So we talked about for Paladin the Oath of Vengeance. I honestly think that's probably the best bet just because of that Hunter's Mark. That really sells me on it. When I hear martial character, I'm always going to think of Kensai Monk.
Right.
Are we going to get anything out of that, though?
It's not bad. You open up what weapons you could use. So I feel like, nice. Paladin's getting everything. And then if you go into Monk, it's kind of like, it's somewhat wasted. With Kensai Monk, you can still benefit from those. And then the Kensai abilities, like Agile Parry or Kensai Shot,
they're good.
Yeah, well, I guess probably not Kensai Shot with a Paladin, because making yourself a ranged Monk Paladin.
I will say having the option's never bad.
Yeah, right. I don't see why you couldn't.
We've been in that situation multiple times with Paladins who are just sitting there just well, it's flying, so I don't know what to tell you, man.
That was basically my entire character in Out of the Abyss. I specifically made sure I didn't have too much range.
Go buy a javelin.
Right.
Holy shit.
Nope. Just going to be the the one who's screwed when things are far away. It's called character building. But I mean, this is going to be a Dex Paladin. It almost has to be.
Right.
So we're already ignoring armor or for, trying to boost that up. Dex is there. Great. Let's maybe give him a ranged weapon in case it makes sense. So what was that? Kensai shot. That's just as a bonus action, you do an extra 1d4 damage.
No, on your attack. Oh, yeah, as a bonus action, you can make one of your ranged attacks.
Oh, and that's any ranged attack that hits. So if you have multi-attack and you're hitting twice with the Kensai shot, you give up your bonus action to do that, but it does an extra d4 damage.
Right. It's basically replacing the unarmed strike
Right.
of martial arts.
Right. And I say it's never going to be that great because it's only 1d4 additional damage, but at least if you do have to go that range, you've got a good option with it.
Right. But the fact it applies to both kind of puts it on par with their unarmed strike. Or
Yes.
martial arts, you do, which is the 1d4.
Right. So if you
Plus
are
one.
concentrating on that hunter's mark, that's something. Gives you an extra 1d6 to that as well. You still are going to want to get up close. That way you can do 3 separate attacks with it instead of
There's
just
no
2.
flurry of arrows. Mm-hmm.
That would be nice. I'd like a flurry of arrows. Probably not a Kensai monk thing, though. No.
No.
Yeah, no,
Ranger.
Level 6, you get the magic Kensai weapons. Always nice. Just you've got a magical weapon for the sake of overcoming resistances. Which, if you guys had that right now, I'm sure you'd be very appreciative. I feel like most groups, everyone's going to have a magic weapon by level 5. Except for at our table.
No, I mean, it's not like we invented this concept of never giving people anything.
You were correct. We didn't
son of a
invent that.
bitch.
It's more that I feel like most...
Give me better armor.
Why do you need better armor? Our fighter doesn't even have plate. And everyone's like, oh, at 5th level, you should have the best armor in the game. It's like, well, no.
I will never go above 14 AC.
Yeah, how is
Druid
it so
suffering.
low?
I can only wear hide armor.
Oh, the no metal for...
Yeah.
Right, okay.
There's something in between, and you have so much money.
No, there isn't.
So,
It's splint. You're probably thinking of like
oh, is that heavy armor?
one of them sounds like it's not metal,
Yeah,
but it is metal.
yeah. No.
The only thing you can do is the least effective medium armor.
Well, maybe, just maybe, you should start going on a personal journey to find better armor.
That's really, really a bad character building.
Well,
It's horrible.
could have talked to maybe a tanner to find a way to make chitin armor. He's like, oh, bring me some bugs and I'll make you some chitin armor. Then you got to go hunt some bugs. Is it character development? No. Is it a challenge that your character has to overcome? Yes. Go play a druid in some other campaign.
Maybe I will.
So beyond that, at 6th level, you don't really get anything else, do you? You get another Kensai weapon, or you get the Death Strike, which is spending a key point to deal extra damage to the target equal to your martial arts die. So, I mean, you are going to, compete in damage. I think there's a lot of different ways to get it up there.
What we're talking about, though, right now is why the Kensai is an okay subclass.
Right.
It doesn't help you as a paladin.
I mean, it does to some extent, because you're going to be held behind on everything else. I mean, if you get that, maybe you're doing rolled stats. So getting to 13 strength and 13 charisma isn't as hard. You rolled really well. Or it's later on in the campaign and you're like, well, my dex is at 20, my constitution's at 20. I don't really feel like taking the next 3 levels in monk because, what is it going to get me? Maybe paladin's what you want to go for. I hear what you're saying, though. It might be a little tough to justify. Maybe there's got to be some role-playing reason for it. Something that has happened in the campaign that makes you diverge. And then, sure, Oath of Vengeance works out pretty well. Maybe Oath of the Ancients, which can always kind of be a nice one if you're dedicated to the ideas of beauty and nature. Yeah, it's probably not great. But it depends. I mean, if it fits how your monk has been playing, then yeah, you can take a lot out of that.
I will say this. Monk does not have a whole lot as a capstone.
No, it doesn't. It's like you get key if you don't have key. It's one of those.
Astral projection for free. Okay, whatever.
Astral projection. What are you talking about? I don't think that's a monk.
Yeah, empty body level 18. It's a weird high level thing.
I don't remember that one.
Mm-hmm.
Empty body. I'm pulling it up now. Beginning at 18th level, you can use your action to spend 4 key points to become invisible for 1 minute. During that time, you also have resistance to all damage but force. Additionally, you can spend 8 key points to cast the astral projection spell without needing material components. When you do so, you can't take other creatures with you.
That makes sense thematically. It's just not very mechanically good.
No, but I mean, being able to turn invisible for a minute
That's all right.
gives you advantage to everything, disadvantage on all attacks against you. Pretty nice. That's 18th level, though, so at that point,
Who gives a shit?
yeah, I mean, it's like everyone's just super powerful, so it's getting to
Right.
the point of ramp up that just nobody cares.
Your
And
movement's 60 feet or something.
yeah,
An additional 30 feet, yeah.
yeah, and as usual, you're probably not going to get up to those high levels. In a multi-class or without it, 18 is pretty high.
Right.
So if you're getting to that point, balance has gone out the window.
Clearly, we are struggling with this one.
Yeah, I guess so. Yeah, I mean, there's other monk subclasses that none of which I love. I'm not a huge fan of the monk for multi-classing at the very least.
It's horrible
Right.
for multi-class.
Yeah.
And B, it is kind of a mediocre class when you look at it more thoroughly.
Yeah. Way of the Shadow? It's always the casting darkness that you can you see through that? No, that's the that's always the sorcerer one.
You know
I
when you
mix those
can
up.
see through that.
When you're
Take a couple levels of
That is fair. It's sounding more and more like a warlock monk is a little bit more effective than a paladin monk. I don't know. There's seems something weird about I don't want to talk about it too much. You're gonna keep getting me on the warlock monk thing. And when we have a warlock monk, we're not gonna be able to talk about it. We'll be like, oh, just listen to the paladin monk because that one was garbage. It's a garbage.
trying to
multi-class.
slowly move it. Every episode, I'm moving it towards monsters and warlocks. Where I talk about warlocks. That's it.
Next week's episode, same as the last, better than the rest.
I guess some of the level 2 key abilities, where you get spend some key and disengage as a bonus action or dash as a bonus action, is nice as a paladin.
Yeah.
But I'd rather just go rogue.
Yes. I think what could benefit it is if, once again, we're talking about that the hunter's mark thing and trying to maintain concentration. It gives you a really good way to get in there, do a couple hits, and then get out.
Right.
Does it take your bonus action to step of the wind, though?
Yes.
Yeah.
Well, nope, not going to work then.
I mean,
Yeah.
no, it still works.
It still works, you're just only getting 2 attacks, which...
It's an obnoxious strategy that doesn't really
Right.
work that
So
way.
at that point, just be far away and be the ranged monk who can get hunter's mark 1d6, 1d4 plus whatever their bow is. I'm not saying it's good. Just
Yes,
That would be more beneficial.
Wasting hunter's mark then.
Yeah.
Because then you're not taking advantage of Abilities Smite. Or,
wasting's a little bit of a strong term for it because that's about what hunter's mark gets you as a ranger most of the time is 2 attacks per
Right.
turn. So I mean, it's not wasted as much as there's more you could do with it that would be a lot cooler. If you're not worried about losing your
Or
concentration, that's fine. Rangers are
You
great.
should always be worried about losing your concentration. It happens all the time.
I don't know why. You guys should hold concentration better. Did you try thinking harder? Rolling better, maybe?
Yeah, that's what I yell about. I don't think, our ranger has probably never maintained concentration on any. Like, you
No.
take 1 damage, like, oh, hunter's mark's gone. That was a waste.
He doesn't use it for anything else, so it's fine.
Yeah, that's true.
All right. Well, I mean, Paladin Monk. What else is there to say about it?
Got any cool backstories of why a character like this would exist?
Honestly, they all just seem very simplistic of like they're already a monk and then again either some big event happens like their monastery's all killed and so vengeance paladin they take up an oath of vengeance against them. Then you got like a Korean revenge film which can be kind of cool. I love Korean revenge films.
They're great. But
Old Boy.
I'm like 90% sure I went on this rant before. It probably devolved into warlocks, but I'm going to start it again. You're a monk. And your entire life is devoted to monk things because that's what monks do. And orcs burn down your village. And so you take an oath of vengeance. But you don't take Oath of Vengeance. You practice karate more. It's like you immediately do that. You don't think, oh, I'm going to change like the fundamental defining aspect of my life to get absolutely nothing. No, you practice more karate. This is what you do.
I don't think that
Or
it has
you join
to
the
be,
police force and become a fighter.
I think that this is one of those like where the oath is what's specifically giving you the power. Yes, you're still practicing karate, but that doesn't mean you also need to like you're going to ignore the armor stuff anyways. So just ignore it. It doesn't need to be a thing that then I went and learned how to wear heavy armor while conducting battle, but now I don't use it because it doesn't matter. Like there is more to the class and the flavor than what is given to you on paper. You can ignore some of the stuff you get on paper to then say, yes, this fits the idea of what I'm going for. I want to be swearing an oath of vengeance, and from that oath of vengeance, I'm getting power. I'm getting my nature is being changed as a whole. I can cast Hunter's Mark now and take a vow of enmity once per day. And there's something to that for short rest.
Sure,
Thank you, Kevin. I don't think that's a bad setup by any means. And all you have to do is ignore that, you also know how to use a sword. Like, it's fine. I'm not going to use a sword anyways. If somebody's like really adamant about that, and then in the game, they're like, oh, you know what? Today I'm actually going to put on heavy armor and use a sword and switch up everything. I mean, yes, they're still allowed to, but everyone's going to be like, okay, that's dumb. Don't do that. You're ruining your character. Just like if Musty put on, metal armor tomorrow.
He loses his druid powers.
He loses his druid powers, just like they'd lose their monk powers.
He's just a regular tall dude.
He's still really tall, though.
Yeah, he's huge.
So there's things to it that are beyond the actual mechanics.
Yeah, no, I'll give you that. It's one of those situations where you can throw shit out like that if you really want.
Yeah.
Just talk to your DM. He's never going to say, no, you can't abandon those class features.
Yeah. No, I'm sorry. You need to be this powerful, and you need to be trained in this, and you need to have a reason why you're trained in it. You can't just not have it.
If you come in at a later level, you could do it as a backstory. It's like this would be awkward to play through this at level 1, but let's say you're coming at like level 6 or 7 or something like that. Mm-hmm. You take 3 levels in Paladin, and that's your starting class, and then switch over to Monk, and this all happens before the campaign starts, and your backstory is you were a Paladin for a kingdom or for some temple, and for whatever reason you had a falling out and really rethought your entire life and joined a monastic order and went off and studied like that. It would, like I said, it'd be really awkward to play through that in an actual campaign starting at level 1, but coming later, you just make it part of your backstory.
Yeah, that Monk is, once again, a really hard one to multi-class into thematically for that reason. If you're not starting with a monk, it's like, it's not going to happen in play. You're not just going to one day find a monastic order and be like, hey, everyone, I'm going to like stay here for the next 6 months and just train really, really hard.
Depends on the campaign type. We always do stuff, even like in our current campaign, which is very sandboxy. It's still kind of constant action. Mm-hmm. There are campaigns, there's eventually like Adventure League type stuff where your characters are like not doing anything for a year.
That's fair.
And you have these crazy downtime activities you could do, and that could be one of them.
That's fair.
Or alternatively, if you want it to happen, if it is a campaign where you keep going and going and going and you want this to happen kind of on screen, so to speak, you're traveling with the monk and they train you.
Also
could be another
fair.
party member, an NPC or whatever, or you're kind of hubbed in, you have like a hub town, and you're all, even though you're going out and doing stuff in the world, you're always finding your way back there for long stretches of time. It's like every time you go back, you meet up with this person and they train you.
Party member could, I like the idea of that, only if you're like, not only, but if you're like leaving the same monastic order, like, yeah, that's why you know each other, and they're like helping you continue your training. If it's like really early on in it, like basically it starts with you are a new monk. You have 3 levels in Paladin, but now you're taking on monkly duties. It's something, and then they're the ones who are kind of training you, and then that builds a between character, a mentor and mentee relationship.
All right. That's cool, but like, I don't want to get too hung up on mechanics, but you've already got a monk in the party, and then you're like you're like a low level paladin. You're like, oh, I'm going to be a monk too.
Yeah, that's fair. I mean,
that's like that's one of the 2 classes I would not think. That's just something you don't want 2 of in a party.
You think? I don't
That's
think
one of the examples that I would say is not a great idea.
I don't think you need to have a well-balanced party by any means, though.
Right. No, but I think there is more fun to be had if you do. And a lot of people lot of people signal against that idea. But I think that having a more traditional party makes everybody's life a little bit more easy and a little bit more enjoyable.
We have an extremely well-rounded party right now. It's actually kind of absurd. It's frustrating as a DM. I can't throw enough stuff at you guys.
But you know, if we didn't, you would be like, all right, I got him this time. And then you'd be like, oh shit, I actually got him.
Yeah. Behind every DM's confidence is just that little bit of, but what if I kill everyone? Yeah, I mean, what do we got? We got a full druid, so Spore Druid at that, which is just a weird, all well-rounded kind of druid.
It's a very survivable druid.
We got the Ranger Fighter, who's going to be an Arcane Archer, who's just doing tons of damage.
Yeah.
We've got you, Kevin, who is a, what are you again? You're a Rogue Paladin.
Yeah.
Which also doing a ton of
Arcane
close
Trickster,
damage.
Oath of Vengeance, yeah.
Yeah.
With 18 AC and a shield,
Very-
land hands, so yeah, good mix of healing and burst damage.
Mm-hmm. And then we have an Eldritch Knight who just does consistent damage, takes some hits. I mean, and then a full healer.
Yeah, life cleric.
Yeah, like whose specific thing just is wanting to heal. So, I mean,
Heal and buff.
Yeah, heal and buff. So if we were like
high level bless. That's nice.
if we were doing like a WoW raid,
I was going to say, you didn't play WoW, but this is a incredibly well-balanced WoW party.
Yeah.
Because druids are great backup healers.
so that's why I have to keep throwing raid bosses at you guys. Yeah, that's also the thing. Like every time she can't heal, you're like, that's fine, I got it. Or like you're first in initiative order, here's a healing word. That's fine, I'll take care of it. You know, like it's
And then even at me as like a
a last result. Yeah. No,
I mean, the 15 points of land hands. I haven't even prepared like healing spells.
Well,
I
you
haven't
should.
bothered.
Honestly, and the biggest problem with lay on hands, it's a huge waste of your damage action.
Right.
So that's always the, I can't get over there, so he's got it.
Right. Yeah, it's been a nice backup. Here's 1 point of land hands. You're no longer dying. Or where I'm used it more is the 5 points to cure poison or disease.
You have 20 now. You just leveled up.
Oh, yeah, I do.
So,
Sweet.
yeah. And I mean, 20, that's nothing to scoff at.
Right.
That's a good amount of healing.
Right. Yeah. And also then I could take care of myself if needed. Here's 20 points of health back to me. I mean,
Which, to now say again, everyone can heal themselves a little bit because there's two fighters. One's Eldritch Knight, one's a
the ranger multi-class. Yeah.
And they both have
second wind.
Second wind. So like everyone can give themselves some healing, and then you have a full healer. And it makes me feel a lot less bad about doing 70 damage in one turn.
Well, no, you should don't feel bad about that.
I don't.
I think I have one of the higher healths at 60.
Maybe he shouldn't have gotten hit so much.
Yeah, that's the thing. The only person who could survive a lot of those attacks would be me with my full buffed up sporeness.
Yeah. Well, that's all right. It was a raid boss. And you guys survived.
I didn't even turn that on, I don't think.
Nope.
I was too busy trying to save the people you massacred.
Well, I mean, it's I don't know. I mean, that's kind of one of the harder parts of DMing against people who know what they're doing is you have to keep turning up the difficulty, and it's really difficult to find a good balance. And as I think we found, sometimes the balance is going too far and just letting you guys figure it out. That was one of those where I was kind of crowdsourcing ideas for that monster, and it kept going like more and more out of hand. And every time people were like, "Ooh, but that might be too powerful," and I'm like, "There's literally no such thing. Like, it's impossible. I mean, it's if it gets too much, then they'll run or somebody dies, and then we move on. But I don't think that's going to happen. And somebody died, and then you revived them,
Right.
And then we moved on, and it was good. So you're welcome.
I think the biggest problem with what we do, and I feel like probably a lot more parties do this than don't, is combat takes so fucking long that we can't do every day should have 7 encounters or some shit like that.
I mean, there's ways to do it that they're using resources that aren't going to be full.
It doesn't count. It like you can say, that not 7 combats, it's only like 3 combats and 5 traps. It's like those traps still take a shitload of time, and those combats still take a shitload of time. We afford like 1 combat a session.
Yeah.
And even then, that takes like half of our time.
Yeah. I mean, there are definitely times where it's expected to be multiple sessions with one rest. And those ones, it does work out kind of better. And I feel like getting you guys strapped for resources definitely comes up. Beyond that, I mean, the only way to really offer that challenge is to have it be a little bit over the top.
Yeah.
And I mean, that's fine. I think that's a good way to go about it personally. And it also, I mean, it's cooler fights. So until you guys get to like level 15 and it's impossible to try and balance for that, it's fine.
That's the issue that really comes up is we've done this before. It's like we can't balance high level fights.
It's hard.
It's not hard. It just like doesn't work, And then I think the only way at high level is the war of attrition, multiple pretty reasonable encounters, eventually just kind of wearing the party down.
Yeah. No, I think so. And I think what people actually forget about with that was they feel like every single combat needs to be just really crazy strong. But like you can have pretty easy encounters that at least burn some resources. I mean, that's all you're looking to do on some of them.
Right.
It's like it's not like you expect them to lose, but if you start the combat and your wizard casts Storm Sphere and takes out half the group, cool, they just burned a 5th level spell. That's what you needed. You didn't need them to get all of their damage taken away. You needed them to not have that spell when the big boss came later.
Right.
And for that, I mean, that's the only way to do it. I mean, I don't think we've done that well yet. Maybe we're getting there. We just haven't really had a reason to play super high level stuff. We'll see if we ever get there in this campaign.
Right.
We better.
Really? Better?
If I'm not level 18 the next 4 months, so help me.
Took you guys, 6 months to get 2 levels? So, yeah, 4 more months.
It goes faster as you get higher, isn't
Yes.
it? Isn't that how it works?
That's how it works.
Exponential leveling.
That's how
All of a
cookie
sudden,
clickers
every 2 minutes in the session, you gain 1,000 levels.
work. That's how cookie clickers work.
Same deal.
Those are fun.
You mentioned something earlier that I don't think we've really talked much about, and that's the idea of downtime. You said that, a lot of campaigns will have like just weeks, days, months, years, whatever of downtime. And that's definitely something we've never explored because it's never really felt too natural.
Right.
Like I don't know if it's just because of how we structure our campaigns, but it seems really weird if I just said like, okay, we're going to take a break for a month. Like your characters are going to take a break for a month. Like what reasoning would there be? You all have these personal goals and motives that are maybe not so much time sensitive, but you have no reason to just sit on them. So it always seems weird to me. I want to give downtime. If you guys said we're going to take 2 weeks off and I'm going to do this, I'm going to do this, great. You can find somebody to teach you a new language and you can start learning how to brew beer and all of those things. But I just don't see how it would naturally happen.
I think, again, it goes back to kind of having that hub city. And I think maybe during character creation, it's a requirement of everybody lives in that city.
Mm-hmm.
Right now, it's nobody lives where we are. And it's not a hub city. We've already left it.
Well, you did buy a house though.
Yeah, for weird political reasons for the right to vote.
Which you don't have.
Yeah.
Again, I want that to be very clear, Will. You really push the whole let's buy a house so we can vote thing, but that doesn't help you vote. You can't vote.
The Russian Revolution started in the 1800s. It did not finish until the early 1900s. You plant the seeds early, Jared. I'm a furball guy. I have so much time to foment the Workers' Party.
I do fully appreciate that you are finding a way to play a true neutral character where you are recognizing that there is a power structure, and so you're planting the seeds to, maybe change that, or at least have some pushback against it, because that's important. It's nice. Got to play that true neutral.
But back to the downtime. So with the current campaign we're in, which is that Sandbox campaign, where it still doesn't feel like it fits, it's because we all of our backgrounds and motivations have led us to living the life of adventure.
Mm-hmm.
We've left our homes with these goals that we're looking to accomplish, and those kind of trump everything.
Yeah.
Where if it's more, we're all from the city, we all have homes here and families and friends here, and maybe it's more structured, we're involved in the community of the city in various ways, and we come together to solve problems. You're going to have downtime between those problems.
That makes sense. Yeah.
It's also worth noting that the concept of downtime from Adventure League is almost identical to experience. You get experience when you complete Adventure League quests, and you get downtime.
Right.
So when you spend downtime, it's not the party saying, oh, we're all going to take 2 weeks off. Because Adventure League isn't that cohesive linear narrative, you spend 2 weeks and show up next week. It doesn't matter what anybody else did. You learned, Elvish.
Right.
Or got 2 weeks into it.
Right.
So it's a resource that you're given and spent. And we don't really do that.
No.
We always do checkpoint leveling.
Right. And if somebody wanted to, again, just using that as an example, learn Elvish, there would probably be a different way to go about it. In game and in character, finding a teacher and just spending time with them, be it training every day or something to make that a skill. Yeah. Downtime, but I do like the idea of like potentially doing a campaign where there is a bit of a hub world like that, and that's your focus. I think I made it pretty clear. Maybe not. I think it's just the way it happened, but nobody really wanted to make a home to go back to in this campaign. It felt like it was more about the reason why they set off, not a reason to stay home.
Right.
It'd be a terrible campaign.
Having a reason.
Like,
to stay
why are
home?
you just chilling at home? I don't know. Comfy.
No, because if everybody is from the same city,
Right.
Well, yeah,
that's how you.
that does not fit this campaign at all.
No.
Nope. I didn't want it to either, but it's worth exploring in the future. I've heard some, like the way that this campaign started, you guys did not know each other at all. There's definitely some benefit to like having at least previous knowledge, kind of making your characters together and everyone having a same shared goal. Don't think it works out as well for a long form campaign, which is what we're trying to go for.
Right.
But I do think maybe after this, switching to like a couple shorter, like 3-month campaigns, where it's
Right.
like you have one specific thing that you want to do and let people kind of cycle out characters a little more.
Right. Or maybe a more, if it's a short one, a more railroady type thing where like
Right.
you have a story in this world you want to tell. And we're going to be important actors in it.
Right.
Especially because we were talking about since this is your homebrewed world and we're very, very early on in the development of this world and future campaigns kind of doing time skips.
Mm-hmm.
It'd be kind of cool to do like little segments of important events for like, a month or two.
Right.
Also, then we could try out different wacky characters and
Yeah. And
stuff you don't want to play for 2 years, but for a few sessions, sure.
right.
Like
And
a monk paladin.
like a monk paladin. Yeah. And it helps, flesh out the world too, which can be definitely nice. It's difficult to do that just on looking at a blank map and being like, all right, so what's going on in that place?
Right.
And then just having to write something compared to having characters with motivations and then things happen and change. And it's like, great, that's what happened there. So in 2 years, we can look back and say, oh, I remember that's the history of that place because that was really important.
Right.
I finally acquired a copy of the Baldur's Gate Descendant of Avernus.
What do you mean? I have that, and I told you I have access to that.
Did you?
Yeah, I think so.
Well, I might have gotten the PDF somewhere else.
Okay.
But I actually like that because I did read Waterdeep, and I like that campaign structure of it's kind of like local boys doing local boy stuff that spirals out of control, and you end up in the first layer of hell. But
For Baldur's Gate?
yeah,
Okay.
The new Descendant of Avernus, one of the big things is your party like has to all kind of mutually agree why they're in deep shit.
Oh, okay.
And there's like a big table. It's like, oh, you tried to implement democracy, or you're all in trouble for tax evasion. Choose your roles. Like you're the accountant who led it all. You're the guy who caught the accountant, but they blamed you. And that's like the entire party has to agree. Why did we all collectively fuck up and owe somebody this thing?
Interesting.
I like that.
Yeah, I like that a lot, actually.
Also, they mentioned the vehicles like briefly, and I was reading through it. I was like, I don't even know what to say. It's like, how do you make D&D more fun? They have a motorcycle with blade wheels, and it's powered by souls. I'm not kidding.
So did it seem more fun?
Oh yeah, no, I wanted to get the hell on that thing. Run things over for no reason. Yeah, no, that was
I haven't seen how long that campaign takes to run.
I can't. It levels hard. It ends at like
Okay.
level 14, starts at level 1,
That's what I thought.
like out of the abyss.
So, I mean, that just doesn't sound enticing to me. I don't know. Too long. I just want like a short.
Also, I'm really
module.
disappointed though. Like the monsters section has like Inogu in it. I'm like, come on, man. We already had Inogu.
Right.
Get out of here.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of the modules will do that, where they just take like pre-established ones and they're like, you're going to need this for the campaign, so here you go.
Yeah, I like it when they do it like that. It's not like, then you're going to fight, you're the stat blocks in the other book you need to buy.
Right. That's kind of frustrating.
Right.
They actually did that. It was 1 second I was reading. It's like, oh yeah, and then you run into this thing. It's in this book. We're not going to detail it.
They do it
Like,
sometimes.
stop.
If it's in one of the dedicated monster books, like if it's in the monster manual or Volo's or something. Okay.
It was
If
something-
it's
it was
in
like
like
it was in
another
examples.
campaign.
Yeah.
That's annoying.
Yeah.
Oh, it looks like you didn't buy Ghosts of Saltmarsh. Guess you're just gonna have to guess. Nobody bought Ghosts of Saltmarsh.
I didn't see the sales on it, but I bought it for this show. I don't really have any plans on running it.
I read it. It's actually the exact opposite of what we were just expounding upon. It really kind of leads itself to randos, just like doing rando stuff in a town they've never been to.
Well, that's, I mean,
Our campaign.
Yeah.
yeah.
That's not necessarily
Yeah.
bad, but
Yeah.
No. It's just, it's not so much something that I think we thought about before starting this.
actually, what I'll say this. One of the really nice benefits of Ghosts of Saltmarsh is that it's basically just like a book of quests, and it
Yeah.
even describes how you could put this quest anywhere. It
Right.
says if you're in the Forgotten Realms, if you're in Eberron, if you're anywhere, if you're in your custom world, here's why this island is this way and has this problem.
Right. And that's nice. I really like those types of books because then it's just, you can treat it like it's modular and just take out what you want and keep what you want.
Right.
Kind of like
Yawning Portal.
Yawning Portal, thank you, where it's just a bunch of cool dungeons. And it's like, if you want to make it a campaign, sure, here's something that connects it all together. The Yawning Portal, somebody's asking you to go do this stuff. Great. Otherwise, here you go. Here's White Plume Mountain. It's awesome. Have fun.
Never let your party go to White Plume.
Never let your party leave White Plume Mountain.
There's a mechanic there. It's like how to make sure they don't leave White Plume Mountain.
There actually is.
Did you fuck up and give somebody Black Razor? Here's a mechanic to make sure they don't leave with Black Razor. I know you thought it'd be fun, but you just finished the blog on that, didn't you? And you're kind of wondering, how am I going to unfuck this situation?
It really is ridiculous.
Back to something you said earlier, Will, back more on topic of Monk Paladin.
Oh, weird.
Yeah. So you were saying where if there's already a monk and then you have a paladin, it feels really weird to have the paladin want to train to be a monk because it's like, what's the point? That's not really worthwhile. If you really do step out of it, and even for us, even though we talk about really like role playing, and we do when we really try and get into the characters, it's really hard. I know for me to remove that kind of layer of metagaminess from it, where it's like I still want to be viable. I know it wouldn't make a lot of sense mechanically for me to do this, so I will come up with justifications to avoid that and do this instead. Where if you completely throw that out and really try and play your character as a living, breathing character, you could very much justify something like that. So you have the paladin, and they're looking at this monk who's kicking ass with literally nothing. They're running around in just like tattered clothes and beating the shit out of things with their fists and feet, and thinking, man, would actually be a really useful skill to have. I feel very reliant on my arms and armor. I would feel so much more confident in myself if I knew, if I, like in a pinch, if I could get by without that crap. It's like, all right, train me in your ways. And it's not going to be mechanically great. You're not going to use it every encounter, but it's like, now it's there, and it's kind of this character thing going on, a connection between two PCs, and
No, I 100% agree with that.
I mean, every time I destroy something, Kevin's like, here's a rational reason why people can have fun in different ways, Will. I mean, you're wrong, Kevin, but I see where you're coming from. No, I like it. I think my biggest warning is like when people are saying this, like, I don't care about being mechanically viable. It's like, we don't want to bully you, but we do. You might not have fun at some point when you're like, boy, I wish I was rolling just like another D8.
I think that's
It's a simple feeling, but I think people get it.
I think that's what it comes down to is it's more of the concern of not having fun than saying you're having fun wrong. It's that if you think that like, oh, this is going to be a really good time, I'm going to, have a completely mechanically awful character, and then you start playing it and you're like, every time combat comes around, I spend my entire time just not dying, and I don't like that. If that's what it comes up, if you say, I spend my entire time just trying not to die and it's awesome, then this is right for you. And that's okay. That is the right kind of fun because you're having fun.
right.
And you're focusing more on that role play aspect and throwing out mechanics. Great. I think that's totally fine. Will, I know that pains you and you're like, why didn't you just take 8 levels in Warlock, you idiot? But
Why isn't the party all warlocks? I don't get it. Why are they playing D&D wrong? I know it says in the book you can choose any class, but they really meant that you could only choose one. And I think there's so many ways to play D&D. It actually does kind of fall down on the DM. And we, having played this game so long and getting that kind of a little bit of boredom, like we don't fudge rolls anymore. You actually made a mechanic to make yourself not fudge rolls by removing the DM screen. So we're like, oh, look, he crit on us again. He can't bullshit out of that. A lot of DMs are just like, that's not how they want to play.
No.
You will never fundamentally lose until it's like a loss that will feel good.
Right.
And that's a totally fine way to play.
Yeah, I think that's completely fine. I think, that was a recent decision that I think so far has been really great, actually, and will continue to be good. You guys have said before, it's like we don't want rolls fudged. Or even if they're not, you always have that sneaking suspicion of like, maybe we didn't deserve that win. Maybe something got changed around. And it's
Only you thought.
me or Kevin?
I'm a big aficionado of fudging rolls.
Are you?
Yeah, you both. I know you aren't. Kevin would always like, oh, this is important, and he'd roll it directly in front of us. Like,
Right.
ooh. It's like, fuck you, man. I'm level 13. I don't have time to roll a new character.
Well, I guess that's fair.
I have to, when I DM, I have to take that stuff out of my own hands, to be honest. I feel too bad killing a character. But if the threat of it is not there, I know at least on our tables, we don't enjoy it because it feels like, what's the fucking point? Like,
Right.
We're not going to lose. No one's going to die. Kevin's just going to take care of us.
Mm-hmm.
Like, no, I'm taking that out of my hands.
Yeah. Yeah. and
Oh, I'm not doing this.
It's honestly what I have to tell myself.
Kevin's version of I was just following orders.
Oh no. You can't just casually drop the Nuremberg trials comparing Kevin as a
Saucy.
DM.
Ruined that campaign for me.
No, but I mean, I think overall it will feel better. The narrative that comes out of those roles is going to be overall just better. And also I say that because I think it's really, really hard to actually kill you guys, aside from like a disintegration ray that completely wipes you out. And even then, I'm sure you'll find a way to bring people back. Because now there's reason to. It's not like you're in the Underdark where we're like, oh, what do we do? You're just here. We've got his ashes in this Ziploc, and I don't know what the hell to do with it. We can't go to the surface. We've got a job to do. If it's like in this campaign, we're playing now, and somebody perma-died like that, there are ways to get them back, and it will become a quest. And maybe we give them a different character for a week or two.
We can't afford it, but
Not right now. No.
if they got disintegrated, I think it needs to be a true resurrection, which is what, 20,000 gold?
You are correct.
Material
Or
component?
wish.
We are,
Oh, right, okay.
or there's always the other thing of, so you don't have the money for it, but I've got something you can do for me.
All right, but what situation
is going to be worth 20,000?
All right, you work at McDonald's, but I'll give you this Ferrari if you go on an errand.
You guys are thinking about it at this level where nothing's going to disintegrate you anyways.
It's kind of true. Even
Yeah,
at level
that's fair.
10,
Yeah, you'll start getting more money as time goes on.
No, I mean, if the pattern continues, we're just going to have way too much money.
Yes, which is always the case,
That's
and that's
awesome.
good. That's fine. You probably have enough to start buying your companions better armor.
Nope. I'll be investing in real estate.
Okay, so we definitely got off track, which is fine because Monk Paladin didn't have much.
But it spurred some good conversation.
Of course it did.
Yes. And another point with the mechanically unoptimal, and it's like, oh, if you enjoy it, or if you might really feel underwhelmed and struggling in combat. It also depends what the rest of your party's doing. If that's kind of the agreement, it's like, all right, we're going to try and make actual real living, breathing people. And let's say we're going to go that route. They all live in the town and they're just trying to make their community better and defend it when they can.
Right.
But they are by no means the elite heroes of the realm. And everybody has that mentality. It'll be fine because the DM just adjusts accordingly.
Yeah,
And then,
definitely.
I think even the opposite is also true. If you've got like crazy min-maxers, it's like, yeah, you can just kind of chill out in the background doing almost nothing. We've got this weird multi-class barbarian monstrosity doing 90 points of damage every round and
He's got to
immune
be
to
carried
all
in a
other forms of
wheelbarrow,
damage.
but
Yeah, carried in a wheelbarrow. That's his character. Your character is the wheelbarrow carrier. That's perfect. I use my action to move the barbarian within range.
Tensor's floating disc. No, I mean, I totally agree, and I think that's kind of mentioned that where you guys are definitely on these the higher end of the spectrum when it comes to just being good at D&D. I mean, maybe I can't say that because you guys are my party, but you know what you're doing. I never feel like, oh man, I got to take it easy on them because they're just so clueless. It's like, no, you guys are talking strategy and figuring out the best way to handle this, and you're going to come through if I throw in crazy high challenges at you. So
Right.
gonna keep doing it.
And that's what we enjoy
Yeah.
as a table.
Right. Hopefully there's a cap to how good you guys can be, though.
Yeah, probably. We're not that talented.
No.
Yeah, we're pretty garbage. But
Yeah.
the three of us do spend, how many hours a week mechanically wondering, how could I break this game?
And then justify it through role-playing reasons.
Yeah, that really speaks a lot to no matter how much I talk up role playing and like enjoy that aspect, I still approach this as a game because that's what I've realized, that for every single time I make a character and make a decision, that's what I do. What sounds mechanically fun and viable, and then I justify it for role playing wise.
And there's nothing wrong with
Right,
that.
yeah.
I mean, that's the way you want to do it.
Right.
I mean,
But it's like it was the other day. I was just like, that kind of thought dawned on me. There's people who approach that completely opposite.
Mhm.
It's like, what do I want to do role playing wise? This is this real person who lives in this world. What would make sense for them to have mechanically? Then it is what it is.
It's a resource thing. It's
yeah.
because that's in your head. That's how you approach it. A lot of people do not have any idea of the mechanics of this game. So what comes to them immediately is like, oh, I was the son of a blacksmith and I started doing this. And they're like, all right, let's look at this book. Ooh, that's a lot of pages.
Yeah. And they can listen to our show to help them out through their mechanical needs.
For all your mechanical needs. Just roll a warlock.
We're D&D mechanics. You give us your broken ass character and we're just going to fix it up. Let's give it a little tune up.
There we go.
Yeah.
That's a new segment.
Yeah.
New segment idea once we run out of multi-classes. I think we only have like 14 left.
No.
Yeah.
Artificer's coming next month.
Is it?
Shut
Yeah.
the hell up, man.
All right. We got 26 left.
You can't multi-class as an artificer.
A year.
Yeah. Actually, you're right.
Yeah.
We still got a while to go.
Yeah.
I forgot we're doing every other week now.
Yeah. I think this is probably at this point, we are now officially been around for a year. We started in about November.
Yeah, November 5th we launched.
So when this launches, or actually right now, this will be a whole year. So that was my
Sound like an air raid siren. Warning, it's our anniversary.
happy birthday.
If you rolled a paladin warlock or monk, please take cover. They're about to yell at you.
I will use that to transition into our small promotional period before we get into our monster of the week. So
The Barghest.
we threw me off so hard there. So if you do not, please subscribe to us wherever you get your podcast. Leave a review wherever you get your podcast. Follow us on Twitter. That's monsters_multi. Subscribe to our subreddit, which is our Monsters and Multiclass. And just reach out to us. Talk about D&D. I mean, it's what we're here for. We have a podcast about it for a reason. And share us with your friends. Yeah. There we go. And happy birthday to us. Now on to the Barghest.
This week's monster is the Barghest. The Barghest is a challenge rating. It's going to be really hard to keep that up.
I'm not doing it.
Yeah.
Fuck you, Kevin.
We had this just kind of silly, ridiculous idea to pronounce it as the, and in D&D Beyond, all the monsters have a pronunciation guide, and it's said very monotonely, and I don't know if that's going to pick up. And when we were trying to figure out how to say this, we were saying it just like that and making ourselves laugh. So I was like, oh, we'll just do that through the whole episode. Here we are. I've done it 3 times now, and I'm already done with it. So we're not gonna stick with that.
I'm gonna scrap this episode. I'm so embarrassed.
Anyways, this week's sponsor is the Barghest. The Barghest is a challenge rating 4 fiend. There we go. Yes, fiend. Their goal in life is to hunt down goblins.
They look like little wolf goblins.
Yeah.
That's it. Little wolf goblins, but they're not goblins at all. What are they, Kevin?
They're fiends.
That's already been answered. But why are they with goblins?
To hunt them down.
Ooh, there we go. All right, see,
Yeah.
we're getting somewhere.
Yeah.
I wonder if there's a backstory as to why that happened.
Okay, well, let's see if we can just skim through.
Yeah, so if you've listened to our Goblin episodes, the the god of the goblinoids is Maglubiet. That's really what actually brings the hobgoblins, bugbears, and goblins together, because otherwise they're actually pretty separate species or races, whatever. And then there was the general, Gehenna, Gehenna. I never looked up,
That looks right. It's not a hard one. If you got Magoobliet, I think you can get Gehenna.
Yeah, Gehenna. Yeah. Yeah, there we go. Anyways, Maglubliet made a contract with Gehenna for various things, and he ended up breaking it. Gehenna put a curse on the goblins, where sometimes when certain goblins are born, they are actually a Barghest. They appear as regular cute little baby goblins for a period of time, and as they come of age, they transform into this horrible wolf monstrosity. Then retain the ability to shape change back and forth between a goblin or the Barghest form, the wolf form. And their entire goal in life is to kill goblins. There's a certain number, which I'm drawing a blank on.
17.
Thank you.
So they need to kill 17 consume 17 goblinoid souls.
Yes.
And goblinoid is important there because that's not just goblins, that can be hobgoblins and bugbears. They all fall under that goblinoid umbrella.
Yes, and also it's specifically 17 because the oaths that Maglubiet broke total in the contract of Gehenna is total 17.
Yeah, that one felt really tacked on, I gotta be honest, because even in like the description, it's just like, why 17? Because the oaths Maglubiet broke in his contract with General Gehenna totaled 17. And it's just like, is there more to that? It just feels like
kind
it's
of decent lore.
I feel like
They had a contract and it was like 17 things in it that Maglubiet was going to do.
Issue here, buddy? That's great lore.
Yeah, and he was
like, why is it 17? Here's a very specific reason.
Yeah.
It's a great story. It's like, oh, that's dumb.
And it's kind of like this poetic justice thing of the
Okay.
Barghest where they'll kill 17 goblins, but it's obviously multiplied significantly because every single Barghest is doing the 17 times.
Yeah, well, maybe I just don't like it. That's all right. So its entire order in life is to just try and kill 17 goblins goblinoids before it gets ousted, because that can be a bit of a problem, because there is a way to stop it. Killing it seems to do the trick. Also, banishing it with fire is...
Yeah, that's kind of a weird one in the stat block.
Yeah, and regardless of the stat block, I mean, even just lore-wise, it's like a large flame that's larger than it is a portal to Gehenna. And that's how like it can be brought back into its realm with the Yugoloths, and then it'll either be tortured or enslaved because it didn't complete its mission.
Right. And the Barghest ultimately is not trying to just kill as many goblinoids as it can, specifically going after powerful, high-ranking ones, because if the 17 in total that they consumed is impressive enough, they gain a higher status with Gehenna once they return to him after consuming the 17. So you're not just having these Barghest they come of age and then they slaughter 17 goblins, which they could very easily do, and then just leave it.
Yeah, and with their stat block, they very much so could easily do it. They're pretty impressive, even for a challenge rating 4. First off, armor class of 17. Oh, there's that number again. I wonder if that was on purpose.
I didn't pick up on that.
I don't think it is.
That makes sense. HP of 90, which
17. Yeah.
97.
It's like, everything in the stat block 17.
Speed 7. Oh,
average damage 17. It's really all over the place, isn't it? Challenge rating 17. I don't think that's even right. So it does have hit points of 90, which is, again, really high for a challenge rating 4. It's starting to get pretty up there. Speed of 60 when it's in its Barghest form, which is also crazy fast.
That's like top tier fast.
Yeah. And then not a single bad stat. It doesn't have a dump stat at all. We got 19 strength, 15 dex, 14 con, 13 int, 12 wisdom, and 14 charisma. And with a bunch of skills as well. Deception, intimidation, perception, stealth. And then its resistances, which are also crazy. Right. It's got resistance to cold, fire, lightning, and then bludgeoning, piercing, and slashing from non-magical. It's immune to acid and poison, and then the condition immunity of poisoned as well.
Right. It also has blind sight out to 60 feet, dark vision out to 60 feet, and passive perception of 15. You're not sneaking up on this thing.
Right. And... damage it does maybe is not lining up to too much there. But when we're talking about a challenge rating 4 and 90 HP, this thing effectively can have 180-ish health. I mean, you're going to have some magical damage, so let's say even 125 to 150.
Oh, because of the resistance for non-magical. Yeah.
Right, so everything's doing half damage.
Exactly.
I mean,
yeah, challenge rating for a lot of party members will probably not have magical weapons at that point.
no.
And
no.
then the wizard blasting it with fire bolts and whatnot. It's like it has also cold fire and lightning resistance.
But if the party was all warlocks,
Doesn't have resistance to force. You are correct.
Yeah.
But no, that I didn't even think about that. The main cantrips are going to be cold or fire. But I mean, unless you got Sacred Flame, and that's radiant.
but this
So,
is,
right,
any
yeah.
fiend is like kind of downgraded by clerics and paladins. So.
right.
Right,
That's
doing radiant
true.
damage, yeah.
So smites are going to do extra damage to this.
If you
And
don't
we
have
talked
it.
about that.
You're right. That's
Yeah.
I mean, that really, you do have to look at it. It's like, that is a lot of health for a party that can't do anything else.
Right.
Right. Oh, yeah, because smites get an extra D8 if it's a fiend.
Correct.
Fiend or undead, yeah.
Correct.
Also, it kind of weird as languages: abyssal, common, goblin, infernal, and telepathy out to 60 feet. But it's not a combat thing. It's just kind of cool.
No,
like,
it's-
you don't see many things with that amount of languages. I think the Nagpa kind of rivals it, and
I think the
That's kinda
telepathy can kind of be really, really cool, though, with this Barghest because of the fact that it's usually going to be in its goblin form, and it's going to be hiding to some extent. And then if it needs to stay hidden, it can still contact somebody who's nearby, and which really brings me to, and I know I'm skipping over the stat block a little bit, but I don't see a reason for PCs to fight this.
yeah, I was having that thought
of
too.
reasons. Ooh.
Okay, well, let me get to why you're wrong before you say why you're right. Besides the fact that it's extremely difficult and doesn't really fit in a good spot, I just feel like its entire motivation is to kill goblinoids. So unless you have a goblinoid in your party who's been causing tons of problems, which I actually just thought of, and that would be really awesome to have one of those sent towards them, but we'll move on from that. The PCs are generally going to be in kind of the same mindset as these things. Like, oh, hey, these goblins are causing a problem, and now Barghest is talking to us and saying, hey, could you help me kill these goblins? And depending on your party's moral stance, that might be the best thing possible. It's like, oh, so we already have to infiltrate this huge camp, and now we have something that wants us to help, and we just need to like knock these goblins unconscious so it can feed on them. Perfect. You know, that's a win-win. But I can't think of why you'd ever just get into combat with the Barghest.
Even if you refuse to let it help, it is a fiend.
Okay.
It's inherently evil. Mm-hmm. It's, I mean, if you just kind of go by things as written, it's people like that kind of moral gray things, like, oh, maybe he's not too bad. It's like, and if you kind of just take it at face value, he's a fiend.
Right.
It's a fiend.
Right.
It's neutral evil. A lawful good paladin and cleric are probably not going to want to work with it out of principle.
What's the alignment of goblins?
It's neutral evil.
Is it neutral evil as well?
Something like that.
But
It's
I think
definitely evil.
I think all three of them have different ones. I think
I think
Hobbs
Hobgoblin
are
are lawful.
Yeah.
They might actually be lawful neutral.
No, they might be.
I guess we have the means to look this up.
We do. And while
Why,
you're doing
what are
that,
you getting at? Yeah.
well, more of just like if you were the paladin or cleric who's like, oh, I can't morally think of a reason to help you. It's like, could you think of a reason to stop them though? Besides the fact that they're a fiend and you hate fiends, it's like, well, don't you also hate goblins for
So
everything they do?
you kill all of them.
Right.
You kill the Barghest, you kill the goblins. All hobgoblins are lawful evil. By the
Okay.
way. Yeah.
What about normal goblins?
I'm 90%. That's neutral.
Neutral
I'll look it
or
up. That's fine.
chaotic. Yeah.
That's fine.
No, so if you do like a lawful good, like really devout, strongly believe in it, which is a very common way for people to play characters, especially paladins and clerics, they're not going to be okay with, well, I guess he's a lesser evil right now, so I'll work with it for in the meantime, but I'll probably betray it later. That's not how it works.
Right. That's fair.
If they're that truly that devout.
Neutral
it's
evil,
gonna
by
be-
the way, for goblins.
Okay. Yeah, it's going to be a hard no. Kill it. Because it's a fiend, an evil fiend in the world. Then go find their own way to take care of the goblins.
Okay, so it would be at least more flavorful than going to just kill some goblins. It would also kind of alert you that, like, this thing is going to be probably waiting for you to be worn down as well. It's like, this, or it's just going to run. That's also the other idea.
This is what I was kind of getting.
All right, you go ahead.
So you're in a situation. This is actually kind of a pattern. The Nilbog also followed this, and I think they're from the same book.
Wallows, yeah.
So the idea is that there have been more goblin fights in D&D run since 1968 or whatever than there are atoms in the universe. Everybody's bored. So let's add some party poppers that are essentially just goblins. So here's the situation. You like ambush a goblin party or whatever. You're hunting goblins. You're just doing adventure shit and you see a party of goblins. You just bash these little nerds in the head when they've got like 8 health or something garbage. And then, you know, the last one's there and your paladin's like, oh, smite! And it lights the guy up. But, you know, he's level like 2 or 3 and it does 27 damage. Like, yeah, cuts him in half. And the DM's like, nope. He runs away. He just runs away. And it's like, what the fuck what happened?
Right.
What just happened? And that's the idea is the Barghest would be like, you can put him in there and it just adds weirdness.
Yeah, that's fair. And I think there even more to that. You're going to see that weirdness even before when all of these things have like a 11, I think 15 AC. Goblins have surprisingly high. But, you know, you might get that AC down and then you're like, oh, I got a 16. And you're like, yeah, that one didn't hit. What's different about this guy? Or same deal. Maybe it doesn't have to be the smite. You know, you're doing more damage and it's like, why is this one so powerful? And then it just, you know, dimension doors, because it has dimension door, and just bolts out of there. Maybe you see it turning into this Barghest, and it turns into 2 things. Either one, your party sits around and goes, huh. Or they're like, we need to go track that down.
Right.
And either way, it's going to be kind of cool.
Yeah, and you're looking at a situation where, like, if they don't know the lore, and then unfortunately, anybody who listens to the podcast is, you'll never have fun playing D&D anymore. Well, we ruined it. I'm sorry.
That's a great promotion for us.
Yeah, right?
But, you know, all your party members who don't, it's like, what the hell is that? That's cool. And this lore, I mean, it's okay.
Yeah,
I'm kind of in your boat. It's not blowing my mind. But it is a fun thing for your party to have to really work to figure out.
Right.
Because this is some really intense and obscure shit. This is not like everybody knows what a Barghest is.
Yeah.
So that's a great quest that nobody's
Right.
going to see coming.
Yeah, and you can make it a little twist on the classic quest of that someone in a town hires you to go kill the goblins nearby, and they warn you, like, there's one that just seems stronger than the rest. We're not sure who that is, what's up with them, but really, we assume that's their leader. We need them dead for sure. Make sure you bring us back that head, and then you'll get paid.
Right.
And then you go there and it's a lot harder to hit and it runs away. And so you start tracking it down and then you figure out what it is. And it's something actually trying to infiltrate and kill the goblins, which will benefit the town better. But it's an evil fiend.
Right.
It's like, all right, what do you do?
Yeah, and then you bring back the head of the Barghest, and
Right.
everyone's like, that's not the right head. You don't get paid.
Yeah, no, it was a goblin. I'm like 90% sure.
I mean, that's another great way to do it. Something that you mentioned, Wills, you're saying that they're just, I know, kind of tongue in cheek. They're like, oh, you're not going to enjoy anything anymore because you actually know what's going on. I mean, you guys know what 90% of the monsters you fight in my campaigns are. Does it ever make it less cool?
You specifically, especially in this campaign, went to great lengths to make up all new shit. And I want to say it's probably 40% of because you read too much damn D&D. So, yeah, no, I'm absolutely right. And you have to do a lot of legwork for us to still enjoy it.
I do that so that I enjoy it.
Yeah, and no, we do have fun. And we
Yeah.
do know stuff, and it's still fine.
Right.
The
Yeah,
only
also,
thing is reading predefined campaigns is going to ruin them for you.
Well, yeah.
Right.
And we don't talk about those here anyways.
Yes.
Not really.
Well,
Yeah. But also, I honestly, I just forget a lot of shit.
Yeah.
It's like the other day we fought the Vine Blights or whatever.
Yeah.
It's like I knew what those were. I have read the stat block. I think I might have used them at one point. But then in the moment fighting, it's like I don't remember the intricacies of the stat block. I knew what it was by name.
Yeah.
That was it. I mean, I can infer it's probably takes vulnerable to fire because it's a plant, but you don't have to be familiar with the stat block for that.
Right.
There's a lot to it, and I just forget shit, and I can't imagine I'm the only one who has the problem of forgetting things they've known at one point. Or
no,
is my
everybody
brain
else
broken?
remembers everything.
Oh, my brain's just broken.
You're just
Okay.
a big dumb. Man. I will say that the biggest problem is like the situation where the coolest shit in my mind, like the Bone Claw, is the stuff you can't know.
That's yeah.
Everything else
Like,
is
I'm
like,
not gonna
oh, I
forget
forgot
how that
about that
works.
because it's mediumly interesting. It's like, well, yeah, I know it's because it's mediumly interesting.
I think to some extent, like one, we're all martyrs on this podcast as we dive deep into monster lore and have to familiarize ourselves with it.
You doing it?
So yep. So we're all great and humble. No, but you know, like more realistically, like for you guys, it's going to be kind of like while you're at the table and going through something, you kind of like wonder like, is this a bone claw? And maybe it's like 2 sessions or so until finally it's revealed and you're like, yep, that's a bone claw. Like, I know what that is. But, it's still the fun of like how your character reacts to it, how your character figures it out.
And also watching the other party members who are, no, don't listen to this podcast, those fuckers.
You're right, watching them as well.
Yeah.
But I mean, when you watch a horror movie, you don't go, this is going to suck. Everyone's going to die except for that one person who I know is going to live at the end of this. Like, just because you know that doesn't make it a bad movie. It's probably a bad movie because 95% of horror movies are bad.
Yeah, you have to like literally condition your brain. I love horror movies because I set myself up to enjoy them in a specific way.
Right, and that's
what we do with D&D.
Exactly. So even though when you're fighting goblins in one dimension doors, like 500 feet away.
Let's go through my brain real quick. What do goblinoids can know dimension doors? Not the Neobog. It's certainly not any variant of a bugbear.
Maybe a hobgoblin who learned a little too much.
No, hobgoblins are generally martial and lawful evil creatures.
Lots of evocation, yes. So I can't imagine something like a conjuration spell.
It is a bog.
Oh, yes. Well, let's go slaying, good fellows.
I need to steal your detective character and be really obnoxious about it.
Kevin's?
Yeah. That's a fun character.
I do
Kevin's
miss
good
that.
at characters.
Rare. Yeah.
All right, so back to the stat block a little bit because we pulled away from that. So some things that it's got is it does have the shape changer ability, so it can polymorph in and out of a goblin form rather quickly. Again, it only takes an action. Probably not going to be used a ton in combat.
Right.
You would want that to happen already, but if it hasn't, then there you go. You can have them change back and forth. Again, probably makes more sense outside of that. The fire banishment thing
real quick on that.
Yeah.
Is that like a really big, will that work as a really big pool of health? Because the polymorph spell, say you polymorph into a giant ape and you have 60 health or whatever. Once you get knocked through the 60 health and you hit 0, you revert back to what you were and the health you were at.
It says polymorph in regular text. So what I'm seeing...
it's not. It's a link.
It is.
It
You
is?
can use its action to polymorph and it's a link to the spell.
It's
Oh,
true.
shit.
It links to
D&D
Blindsight
Beyond.
for
Why
no
do you like
reason,
this?
but
Yeah, it links to that in the... Yeah, it links to Blindside, but for me, it's not polymorph. Oops. All right, so, but that is not really a big pool of health.
no, it's not. You're right. I mean, it's because that makes it sound like it really has the statistics of goblin.
Keep in mind, you can only polymorph towards the goblin.
You're correct. It's not you're polymorphing
back.
from a goblin.
Or back into your true form, which
But the true
to
form
me means you're
it's
not
like-
polymorphing into
Right.
a Barghest.
It's like a druid wild shaping.
Yes.
Yeah.
Where, yes, you now have 7 more HP, but once that's gone, you're back to your
And
regular
actually,
state.
other than its size and speed, it's just statistics are the same. I would treat that as it just has the 90 health.
Yeah, that one's actually kind of confusing for
Yeah.
me. I mean, what are you going to do? Add 7 health?
I don't
It's
know.
really
Does
not the end of
HP
the
count
world.
as a stat in that? Maybe. Does it matter? No.
I don't know.
Goblins really do have 7 health. I thought I was wrong about that. I know a lot about goblins now.
Yeah.
I got the AC rate of 15. I got the HP rate of 7. They give proficiency in stealth. I know that.
Oh yeah, they can dodge as a bone, just free action, just all the time.
I know so much about them, but I'm so quick to mess shit up. So,
Offensively wise, it is important to note what they can do.
yes, which is bite as long as they're in their true form, which does some good damage, +6 to hit, reach of 5 feet, 2d8 +4 piercing damage. That's pretty strong. It also has claws that it can use, I guess, in its goblin form, because it doesn't say true form only,
Right.
and that's 1d8 +4 slashing.
And it would probably have anything a goblin had too.
Right, I would assume. So this is like an additional thing it can do. And compared to a goblin, which can do 1d6 +2 with its scimitar, it's going to be a
1d6,
lot
you know.
better for it to use its claws.
Which would be a surprise, he'd carry around a scimitar and then suddenly just like right in somebody's face, like, wow, that hit.
And I think that would be a good way
Lord.
to kind of like, initially show it because once again, goblins have +4 to hit. This has +6. It's going to hit more often. And you're going to notice it drops its scimitar and slashes towards you. And I don't know, its speed and its strength is kind of surprising. And that's like a good way to kind of start teasing that this might be a weird goblin. There might be something more to this. And then when you try hitting it, you're missing. And then it turns into a Barghest. Have to deal with that. If it goes, you said it probably just shares the health pool from a goblin.
Right.
And that would make sense. I would say otherwise it would like after the 7 damage, it would just drop to a Barghest. But since it has to be an action to change, it'd probably just keep that HP.
Right.
So it's not really like a wild shape or polymorph.
No, it actually is a little bit like a wild shape.
It is, but like your health, you would automatically drop it. This doesn't automatically drop, I don't think.
No. I don't know.
Would polymorph be concentration?
No.
It says, I mean, it says you're using polymorph to shape change into a small
No,
goblin.
it kind of doesn't.
Use its action to polymorph into a small goblin.
Right.
So
Yeah, it's kind of weird.
it's not to cast polymorph. It's just the action.
You're right. It just feels weird.
And we're like getting really hung up on it, and I don't think they meant for that to happen. They probably were like, "How do we describe this in a way that's incredibly simple that weird people who are obsessed with this and talk about it into microphones won't get like hung up on?" Like, let's use polymorph. They'll know what polymorph means. It just changes back and forth. Man.
Sorry, you haven't met monsters in multi-class. So then, yes, it does have a stat block for the fire banishment as well. I have no idea how this would come up in a story reason, but if the Barghest is engulfed in flames that are 10 feet high or wide, it must succeed a DC 15 charisma saving throw or be instantly banished to Gehenna. Instantaneous bursts of flame, like a fireball, don't have the same effect. So, I mean, Wall of Fire does work for that.
Does
but
it?
Yeah, that's 10
Yeah.
feet high. But why would you be casting Wall of Fire? Or why would you be fighting a challenge rating 4 thing when you have Wall of Fire? I mean, that's a level 4 spell, I think. It's pretty high up there.
I mean, if there's like an army of them, that'd be kind of cool way to take them all out.
I guess.
They're on the line, wall of fire.
Fair, but why are you fighting a wall or a wall of Barghest? That'd be a good spell. I want that one. I mean, why are you fighting an army of Barghest? Unless it's just something that the Yugoloths just can kind of have. I mean, it does say that some of them get enslaved, so I could see the Yugoloths maybe just using them.
I can see Barghest would probably be limited by Yugolith's interest in Barghests.
Right.
Yugoliths are very, very busy creatures. The Barghest, this is just I'm kind of upset about what a goblin did 2,000 years ago. Every time I remember, I'm going to make a Barghest just to fuck them up.
You just get a Yugoloth.
It's like, oh yeah, that's 17 line betrayal. I remember. Barghest. He's pointing at a baby.
a goblin baby.
All right, back to the demon war. That's been raging for all eternity that we are critically reliant upon.
I almost forgot about old Maglubian. Oh, but I remembered Goblin Baby.
Maglubi is just hiding in whatever strange divine plane. It's like, son of a bitch.
Is Maglubian a girl?
I don't know.
Oh, okay. It can be. I actually don't know. I don't know the lore. We only did 3 Goblin episodes, and now this and the Nilbog all
It
separately.
didn't really give a gender. I mean, it's
It's a god.
yeah.
It didn't give an appearance. It didn't give anything. It's like,
No.
this is just the unifying concept.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, it's-
All right. Also has innate spell casting. It can at will cast Levitate, Minor Illusion, Pass Without a Trace, and once a day each, Charm Person, Dimension Door, and Suggestion.
And I think all of those are going to be out of combat except for Dimension Door.
Levitate.
You think? I feel like using an action to levitate something.
It's crowd control.
It is actually a thing you can do.
Levitate
to
the
other
Paladin without any range stuff.
Yeah.
people. There are a lot of actually at-will levitates are only on self, but this is not one.
Right. Okay. All right. Well, that's fair. So that might be one.
Imagine how frustrated you'd be as your melee-only paladin is like, oh man, I'm so glad I committed to this character and just floating 10 feet in the air.
But can't somebody just push you?
Yeah, if they jump, I guess.
I'll just have somebody lasso you and just pull you behind.
Get the
Or
monk paladin
the
to bury
Barghest
you.
will use it on a goblin they've gotten alone. Mm-hmm. Just to kind of that sort of toy with it. It's trying to run away and it just gets stuck 10 feet in the air.
That's a
and it
very good way to
saunters
do
on
it.
up to it. And
I think another way that I was thinking of playing this or using this would be maybe more for a less by the lore campaign, whereas if you were just going around doing adventurer stuff and came across a goblin encampment and when they saw you all, they came running out and everyone's like, oh god, goblins are coming, get ready, and they're like, we need your help, we really need you, we have a Barghest and don't know what to do, and we need to get it out.
yeah,
and
that's a good way to play it.
yeah.
I wouldn't even say that's against the lore. I mean, goblins are
it's not.
cowardly
You're
and
right,
kind of do what they need to try and survive.
You're right, they just might not.
They might betray you.
Yes.
And then you as the party need to have the moral discussions should we help them?
Yeah.
Does Barghest have a number?
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know. Sounds kind of helpful.
Yeah, and I mean that'd be kind of cool though. You're just like kind of walking through, and maybe the Barghest, contacts you telepathically, and is like, no, don't listen to them. And it's like the goblin right next to it. It's like, meet me at this time of night, and now you go and meet it, and it's like, look, these goblins have a lot of treasure. I've seen them, attack, blah blah blah. Goblins are awful people. Help me, and I'll give you everything here. Or the goblins are like, hey, we'll give you a smaller amount, and we all don't want to die. Which is somewhat, fair on their parts.
Here's an idea that uses mechanics perfectly.
Okay.
You have a party essentially that's like dealing with a goblin encampment, quote unquote. You're not going to have to fight all the goblins, but you're going to have to strategically go place to place, make sure you're not triggering different clusters of mobs and stuff, stealth. Suddenly you start getting incredibly accurate telepathic information.
Ooh.
It's like, oh shit, we should attack the western flank. The guards are both asleep. Wow, that sounds like a trap, but let's send the rogue to check it out. And the rogue's like, yeah, I just didn't even wake up when I stabbed the first guy. They're like,
we told you not to stab the first guy. And he's like, gotta do rogue stuff.
Sneak attack was up. I'm not going to not take it. And so he's just like, and they're like, this is worrying me. The guy's obviously, his telepathic voice is going to be like, hey, the west is unguarded. And I'm like, that doesn't sound like a guy I want to help, but he could just be like, I don't know, he could have allergies. We can't think like, oh, his telepathic voice sounds fiendish. That means he's a fiend. But, they could go along with it and suddenly see like great success. And they're like, wow, we killed like 50 goblins because every single time we had a surprise round. Mm-hmm. That's a great way to introduce it. And then
he just tells you to, hey, leave the leader for me.
Leave the leader,
Right.
And they're like, should we? And that could either lead to they never meet the Barghest, and they always have, what the hell happened in that goblin camp?
Yeah.
Or, they fight him.
Ooh, because it'd even be better, because like while they're leaving, let's say they decide to leave the final goblin leader. It's sitting there cowering. It's like, you killed every single one of my forces except for me. Just kill me. Your party's like, no, for some reason we're not supposed to. So good luck. And they just start walking away, and they just see like a single goblin just like sitting there, and they're like, huh, that's weird. And maybe one of them just turns around and sees him turn into this Barghest and just wallop the leader, and it's just like, huh, we should get out of here.
Eating his body, which is great.
Right. Or like they just hear in their head just like, you've done what you need to. Get out of here. It's like, okay, well, bye. So, I mean, there's a lot of cool stuff you can do with this.
Right.
Ooh, because even better, it just starts levitating the leader. It's like, what's going on? Yeah. All right. So, I mean, the lore itself, no, maybe not too great, but I think it's not bad either. It's just,
a lot of people
are going to skip over it.
Give a shit about Yugoloths or Maglubliet.
And that's fair. Most people can't even pronounce Maglubliet. And that's something that we can always hold special in our hearts.
Then we figured out how we think Maglubliet is pronounced.
Oh, if it's wrong, then we're just going to quit. Really just always one small mistake away from shutting this whole podcast down.
It does have one last thing. It's down in the lore, just a little side box. Soul feeding. When it could feed on a humanoid corpse, it takes 10 minutes to eat it. If it does, it actually eats its soul, and then it digests it over 24 hours. If you attempt to resurrect that humanoid while the soul is in the Barghest, it has a 50% chance of succeeding. After the 24 hours, when the soul is digested, there is no mortal magic that would return that humanoid to life. It's saying not even wish or true resurrection or anything.
That's pretty crazy.
So that's one of those situations where we kind of mentioned, like, it's now that we're less keen on goblins. Goblins were fun when they were funny. Now they're not. So, if you do end up helping goblins, that puts some pressures. Like, you need to get that goblin out of that guy.
Do you?
No, that's the thing. You don't. But if
question,
you did,
though.
and you're like, oh, no, goblins are fun and funny. It's great. Just get them out of the Barghest. Like, but they're not. They're evil.
I blame Goblin Slayer.
So I will say, Goblin Slayer would love Barghest, I think, actually.
Team up with one.
It's like, about to strike him. It's like, no, wait, that's a fiend.
Nope, not my problem. Sorry.
So yeah, with the soul feeding, I don't think that's ever going to happen to a party member unless they're a goblinoid. I can't see a Barghest wasting his time, energy, and like, I don't know, soul reservoir on like some random half elf. He doesn't care.
Yeah.
So
Right.
If he, isolates one, it probably wouldn't be against it. You know?
no, I probably would be like, I'm not eating that thing's soul.
I don't think so.
It's like I don't like tomatoes. If I kill a tomato, I'm not going to eat it.
Why are you killing the tomato then?
I got in my way while I was trying to kill all the celery stalks. I don't know, man. I don't want.
Is this Banicula?
That's a really good monster idea.
A Banicula?
Yeah.
The vampire bunny that
If you're
sucks
DMing
the
for
juice out of vegetables?
7-year-olds, I don't know. You come to Vegetable Town. Oh no.
It's Banicula. By the way, I haven't gotten a single comment on that intro, but it was my favorite of the spooky Halloween episode.
Good.
Yeah, that was
Glad you liked it.
I kept playing it and just listening to Will's dumb.
Royalty-free Dracula music.
Yeah. All right. I think that's all I've got for the Barghest. Anything else from you guys?
Nope.
Thanks for listening.
Next time on Monsters and Multiclass.
Join us next time as we discuss the Cleric Fighter multiclass and then the Morkoth from Volo's Guide to Monsters.
That's an ugly looking school monster.